everyone, this is Mathew from TOEFL. Thank you very much for coming back this week to our YouTube series on the writing and the speaking tasks. Each week we take a submission from our online forum and we review it here on YouTube to give some feedback to the student as well as the benefit of everybody else. This week we're going to be doing the speaking section, and the first step obviously to success is to understand the question that we are looking at. And this week's question is going to be, what do you consider to be the most important room in the house? Now, this might be easy for some, difficult for others. We're going to go through it together. But first, what I want to do is listen to this student's submission, and then we'll review it afterwards. Let's take a listen.
In my view, I consider living room as most important room in my house for two important reasons. First, I have a good sunlight in this room. For example, in living room, we have a huge window, and because of that, we can always have good sunlight and we can enjoy morning beauty. Second, we have a television in that room. For example, television is a great entertainment source for me, and whenever I am in bad mood, I used to see my favorite movie or favorite show to get refreshed. For these reasons, I think living room is the most important room.
Okay, so I came up with a couple of different points that I think that this student really hit on, and I think that this is a great submission. It can be worked on in a couple of different ways in terms of consistent fluency and making sure that the examples are slightly improved in some ways. But overall, I think that the submission is very strong and would get a great score. Now, what I want you to notice about this particular submission is the speed and the timing and the content and how it's connected. When you look at step one here, what I want you to do is to restate your question just like this student did. We're not restating the entire question. We're basically just saying, in my view, my favorite room, either you prefer it or you agree or you disagree. Whatever the question is asking you, just state the bare minimum so you understand what the question is about. So if it's asking you which do you prefer, we'll say I prefer. Which do you agree with? I agree or disagree. And you want to keep it that simple so you're able to really comprehend what the question is saying. You won't get worked up or stressed or worried about what to say and how to rephrase the question, because some of them can be kind of long. So don't worry about that. What I do want you to be aware of is the different types of questions that we have for the independent task. And how we're going to do that is by practicing over and over, reading the questions carefully. If we don't answer the question on point as it is, it's going to be difficult to get a 4 out of 4. If you don't answer the question because you misread it or you read it too quickly, then it's going to result in a much lower score. So this is a very important first step. Not only understanding what it's saying, but answering it accurately. Understanding what the question is truly asking us rather than just overviewing it and then we make a mistake because we're not exactly sure about what it originally stated. This student was able to do that very well, and you can see that there's a lot of practice with the templates and that was instrumental in being able to have a very strong start. For the second step, these examples are pretty good, and you can tell that the timing was on point as well. That's not by accident. As you'll probably know, it takes time to come up with these examples. I presume the student did it under TOEFL conditions, but the practice that they probably put in beforehand with other questions, other examples, isolating different answers in order to answer it accurately and understand the theory behind getting a 4 out of 4. What I mean by theory is we're thinking of examples, but not just any example. We're looking for something specific, how we answer the question why, how it connects together, and what is going to be able to fit within 18 seconds for each part of this question. So what I want you to do is to dedicate every day at least 10 minutes to coming up with different types of answers. And how we do that is going to be really important for us. We don't want to do it here and there. We want to do it consistently. We want to practice the same, but you also want to practice differently. So each day, it's not like you're doing the same thing. You are practicing a little bit differently each time because you're adjusting as you go. You don't want to repeat the same things on Tuesday as you did on Monday. You want to come up with specific answers, but you also want to answer the question why, and you want to try to develop maybe 10 or 12 examples rather than 6 or 8 examples or less than that. It's really important that we put in that time in order to be able to get to the point where we can get a 4 out of 4. Now, once you are able to come up with those examples, it's really important to focus on timing. And you're going to see the clock right here below. This is exactly what I want you to do. Time yourself for 18 seconds if you're doing 2 reasons and 2 examples. What you want to do is isolate each example that you come up with to see if, not only if it's good enough for the specific time that we have, but are you able to finish it in time within a moderate pace, just like this student did. As you can hear, it wasn't slow, but it wasn't too fast. It was right in the middle, which is really important for us to master, because you want to get used to understanding how fast or slow you speak, because that's going to determine how much content you can say within 45 seconds. So what I want you to do here is to practice repeatedly. Go through the first step that we have here. Understand the question. Then you want to develop those examples, and you want to be able to dedicate the time and really try to think outside the box. You want to keep it simple. Outside the box means that we're going to remove the obstacles and the stress that we're putting on ourselves to come up with a perfect example. This example was nearly perfect, but not sophisticated. So clear, simple ideas are perfect answers because it answers the question. We understand exactly what that person is saying and trying to convey, as well as expressing fluency at a high level. That's the most important part. So you want to eliminate that box of stress that we have, that we put ourselves in, and we want to think outside of it. Be practical while also answering the question. So keep it simple, keep it natural, and that's what's going to help develop your skills. And then the last step, manage your time, and you want to practice this for each example so you know what works and what doesn't work. So you want to follow these 3 steps. Understand your answers as you come up with them, but you also want to practice differently every single day. And as you can see with this example from the student that submitted it, there's a lot of work that goes into cultivating the skills that are enabling them to speak this well. They do speed speech exercises where they don't go too fast or too slow. They come up with examples. They write out the examples to see, is this something that actually works? Sometimes when we have a visual in front of us, it makes more sense, and we can see those little minor errors about connections that are there or not there, and we can input that afterwards. So you can always work with the same question by using different answers, or working with one question and the same answer to perfect it, to understand it on a deeper level. And then you replicate that, you copy that each time that you go through these independent questions. And remember, you want to do a variety of these questions so you get used to the style, you get used to the skills that we're developing here. So what I want to do now is I want to analyze this with a couple of points and give it a grade, and then we'll go on to seeing how you can submit your work here to have it reviewed on YouTube on our online forum. So stay tuned. We're going to do that next. So this particular answer would get a 3.5, not because it's bad or it's poor quality. It's close to a 4. I think it has overall really great fluency. Better range with content would help it to get to a 4. I think it has to be a little bit more specific with the examples. So the TOEFL grader might say that it was slightly underdeveloped. While I think that the main points were answered, the why was answered, we do want to perfect that so we can get a 4 out of 4. There was really concise examples, and it was very, very well paced and well timed, which is absolutely critical for getting that top score and feeling relaxed and confident and showing our fluency. So remember, follow these particular steps. Use this as a reference. Use your own examples as a reference when you come up with something that's really great. So remember to record your answers, and that's going to help you to identify what's good and what's bad. And what is good, keep it. It's a reference for you, and that's what we'll strive for so you can succeed on the TOEFL. Now, what I want to do is explain exactly how you can submit your work to us on our online forum. So if you're interested in registering for our online forum, if you want to check out other people's work and see what they're submitting, you can click the link below. You can go to our online forum, register for free, and then you'll be able to submit your work each Wednesday when we post new questions. If you have any other questions, there's another email down below, studenthelp@noteful.com. Let us know if you have any questions or concerns or comments, and we'd be happy to help you with anything that you need. In the meantime, keep practicing, good luck, and we'll talk to everyone soon.